And we are back on this Thursday, the 26th of April, 2012 edition of InfoWars Nightly News. Coming up after we talk to Jim Marrs, Charlotte Iserby, the former head of policy at the Department of Education, who blew the whistle on the plan to dumb down the American people. She's going to expose the latest developments in Agenda 21 and how it ties into the move to ban children from doing farm chores by the Obama administration. That's coming up. But first, just when you think you've heard it all concerning the assassination of JFK, next year is the big 50 anniversary. And the school book building that's turned into a propaganda center to brainwash and push the official lie that less than 10% of the American people believe in major polls, it has done something unprecedented, and the Dallas Observer and others are reporting on it. For $100 and something, they've leased it for 5 days, and they're saying they're not going to let the alternative media and people in there who've been at every event in the last few decades. We're talking about authors like Jim Marrs, who wrote the book that was used in the film JFK, and Mr. Grodin, who also worked on that, and so many others. They're being told, we're not having a circus. So it's a non-speech zone where they can have the international media for this huge spectacle, kind of like 9/11 now. They push you back miles from the crater, and only the official propaganda. Years ago, we could go and expose the inside job from outside the crater, and inside they'd have a media spectacle. But because they couldn't fully black out the truth, they backed it up several miles now, an entire area of Lower Manhattan. Well, now it's the same thing for the 50th. We'll have to wait another 50 for them, I guess, to release all those documents. They were supposed to release them a few years ago, but they said maybe it's best we don't. Now, the first man to ever teach a college class on the JFK killing and the truth of what happened is Jim Marrs, best-selling author, crime reporter, Fort Worth Star-Telegram is how he got started. He's been on this since day one. He knew Jack Ruby. I mean, just an amazing individual. Jim Marrs doesn't need an introduction here, but this is a big deal because they're going to let this propaganda organization take it over and manage it like this was Russia or something. Amazing. So I will be there, even though it's over a year from now. I will be there, and I'm calling on tens of thousands to come. So there's such a spectacle that they cannot shut down free speech. Because even if you believe in the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and that a lone gunman killed JFK, even if you believe in the Keebler elves, even if you believe in unicorns and pixies and elves and Marvin the Martian, and you believe that's all real, and you believe the official story of JFK, that's your business. Don't you, though, believe in the First Amendment? Joining us from outside DFW is Jim Marrs. Jim, this is unprecedented. Break it down for us, and the fact that there is somewhat of a furor there in Dallas over this.
Well, unprecedented is absolutely correct, because I know for a fact that several organizations, several times, people have gone to the city of Dallas to see if they couldn't, lease or rent for the day or something, Dealey Plaza, and they're told, no, you can't do that. It's a public park, supported by public tax money. And yet 6-4 Museum, which is a creature of the Dallas Historical Society, which is made up of the largely of the wives, sweethearts, daughters of the ruling class in Dallas, have designated that it's going to be their public park for about a week before and after the. So the
dilettantes are saying your public park can go to hell. This is Soviet Russia. Get used to it.
Well, essentially, that's about it. They have leased the whole thing for the day for $110. Okay, plus apparently they put up a $200 damage deposit, which I assume they'll get back. So I guess it comes to $310, but they get $200 of that back. What's interesting is in the past, people have come there every November the 22nd, and to the best of my knowledge, it's always, and several times I've been there, it's been very somber, very considerate, and people pick up their own trash, and the place isn't looted at all. It's the way things should be in a public place. But this time, they realized that the entire focus of the world media will be on Dallas on the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. And apparently they are taking these moves to try to restrict and suppress anything other than the official lone assassin theory.
And by the way, that's going to backfire. I mean, I've looked at hundreds of scientific polls, as you have. Most of them are above 90%, sometimes 85, 87. It's well over 90%. They've already lost. The prostitute media, the New World Order, is going to, not talk to you anyways. I think this is going to backfire on them. I think this is going to be. And by the way, what about this, Jim? I want you to comment on the backfire. But before I forget, what about the fact now that they are showing us this form? They're going to have discrimination lawsuits on them now if they don't lease it out to other people in the future.
Exactly. This is the biggest, stupidest thing Dallas has ever done. By the way, Alex, you've been to Dallas many times, and you see signs to the zoo, to the aquarium, this way to Stemmons Freeway. Have you ever seen a sign that says this way to Dealey Plaza? They will not even put up signs showing people. There's a lot of people come from all over the world, and they don't even know how to get to Dealey Plaza, although it's just, the west end of the downtown section. But they don't really know, and there's no signs. And this goes back years ago, back into the 70s, when the big worldwide sensation was the TV show Dallas. And the Dallas authorities kept saying that it was the biggest tourist attraction in Dallas was South Fork, the ranch where they filmed the Dallas. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. The biggest attraction has always been and still is Dealey Plaza. But they try to act like it's just not happening. And then they wonder why Dallas has this bad image all around the world. Think about it. There was an assassination attempt on Roosevelt in Florida. Robert Kennedy got killed in Los Angeles, but nobody holds those cities accountable. But Dallas still has this lingering stench of conspiracy, shall we say, and they're promoting it themselves by actions such as this.
But it shows the pig-headed, hubris-filled ignorance. Now the Dallas Observer, I want you to contrast this. The Dallas Observer has actually been doing some really good reports on how this violates the First Amendment, is Kafkaesque in 1984. To contrast that, the Dallas Morning News, right next door to Dealey Plaza, they're like, it'll be swimming with cameras, they say in the first line. We need to block the riffraff out, the 90+% that knows the government blew his head off. We need to block the American scum out of here while we have the TV cameras there and shovel some more propaganda down people's throats. We'll have our dilettante old beauty queens out there walking around with their mint juleps, spritter-spratting to the media. I got news for them. We're going to be down there with bullhorns. There's going to be thousands of us now, and I hope they enjoy us shoving the First Amendment down their stinking throats.
Well, I'll tell you something. There's a writer for the Dallas Observer named Jim Schultz, and he had been trying to get hold of Frank Librio, I suppose, Librio. Frank Librio is the city official who's kind of in charge of this thing, and he will not even talk to the Dallas Observer. How's that for freedom of speech and free access and a free and objective media? I think everybody ought to contact Frank Librio of the city of Dallas and ask him, why he won't talk to the media about these suppression plans for Dealey Plaza.
I got an even better idea. All the groups, because I know the different JFK investigation groups, Grodin and others been arrested countless times. The courts have ruled. He can be out there with his, information, talking to people like anybody else can. How about everybody who's been discriminated against and won't be issued a official permit to have an event there, not just take it over for 5 days? How about they sue the city preemptively for total discrimination? Because if they can get away with this, they can get away with anything. Maybe they'll lease, Texas Stadium for $5 to their cousin next.
Yeah, exactly. This is not even about the Kennedy assassination. This is about basic freedoms. And Alex, you of all people know exactly what I'm saying here, because this is what it's all coming down to. This is what InfoWars is all about. It's about the battle for your mind. Are we a free people or not? Being free in my mind is like being pregnant. You can't be just a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're either free or you're not. And if the city can issue a permit to keep people out of a public park supported by public tax money, for one group, but then not give it to anybody else, that's not freedom.
Well, it's truly disgusting that they will not issue the people that know the truth about the murder a speaking permit in all these years, a permit on a right for the Memorial Day ceremonies. And now they'll just say, hey, dilettantes, come in 5 days, $110 with an additional $200 that's refunded. So for $300, you get to take over. And they admit, because we want to block out all the riffraff, which is 90+% of the American people. I mean, it just shows how disconnected these people are.
They really are disconnected, and as far as I'm concerned, I think we all ought to go to Dealey Plaza on November the 22nd, 2013. It's a public park. Let's just all go there. Don't be rowdy. Don't be bad. Don't be nasty. Just, go to the park.
And everybody should take one JFK book or some flyers or a film and give it to somebody.
Yeah.
And just have that place knee-deep in documentation.
That's right. No, I think the Dallas authorities have really tripped themselves up this time. And you know what? I wouldn't even blame the city. The city answers to these dilettantes, as you say, and these people are just totally disconnected. And that's what makes this thing actually so ludicrous, because they're trying to stifle any kind of dissent from the idea that it was just a lone nut that killed the president. And yet, as you so well pointed out, national polls show that the vast majority, I'm talking 80–90% of the people, no longer believe that anyway. Okay? So, what's the problem? Let's just have freedom and let's have everybody present their side, and the side with the best case will eventually win out, because truth will out.
Well, Jim, well said. Other facets to this, because we're talking more than a year out, it just shows how on every front, the TSA now on the streets in Dallas and Houston, groping people, searching bags illegally. Lawyers have come out and said, this is illegal. And they've literally in Houston basically said, go smoke a pipe, go jump in the lake. I mean, they just don't care. The IRS is saying they're going to revoke passports. Just a no-judge jury. I mean, this is right out of Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany, and it's on every front. Government has gone crazy.
This is a police state. This is a police state. And I don't think that's what anybody wants. I don't care what your views are.
It is a police state. Right before we went on air tonight, you were saying, Alex, what about this news? They're just pulling out all the stops. And I said, hold on, save it for the air. What were you going to say then?
Well, it's everything you just went by. I mean, you start with the Patriot Act, and then you come up to the Military Commissions Act, and then you come to the NDAA, and then you get to the presidential executive orders where the Secretary of Defense is going to be in charge of all the water resources. That means your rain barrel. That means the pond behind your house. And I suppose that even means the well. If you yourself paid for it and had a well dug, they're going to be charged with water supply. They're taking charge of everything. And the only problem is, Alex, is that they haven't actually banging on your door yet. Okay, but they're putting it all in place. They're putting it all in place, and at some point, a soldier will come around and say, according to the executive order under natural resources, signed by the president, we're taking your rain barrels, and we're going to put a smart meter to measure every drop of water that goes through your house.
Wait. That's already beginning under this Rural Affairs Council, and all over the country, federal grants have police knocking on doors between midnight and 4 a.m. if they don't think your house is properly secure, and making you get up. So they want to acclimate us to have contact with the police. They want that 95% that's law-abiding in criminology to get used to the fact that spread them. Get ready, because, we're going to frisk you. You're a criminal. This is martial law creeping in. What do you make of the Labor Department rule that no more family farms? Your kids cannot be involved in any chores, period.
Well, that takes care of the FFA and 4-H, doesn't it? And I got to tell you, even though basically I'm a city boy, but I live in the country now, and I tell you what, some of our finest citizens were turned into good, productive citizens because of their experiences with FFA and the 4-H, and to do away with that, to do away with the Boy Scouts. I mean, they are destroying this country. And nobody seems to know or care because all they do is watch TV and they watch, American Idol, and they're totally distracted. They're drinking the fluoride.
Well, look,
they're being sprayed by the chemtrails, and they don't have a clue as to what's about to come down on them.
Well, yeah, that's a violation of the 10th Amendment, states' rights. 9th Amendment, what are the feds doing out of the jurisdiction? It's a violation of basic human rights. It's a violation of parental rights. All over the country, they're giving kids shots now without parental consent. Totally illegal. And they're taking their DNA. When they take the 7-year-old's DNA, the cops say, they gave me consent. Well, a pervert can't have sex with a 7-year-old because they gave consent. They're not of the age of consent. You give a 16-year-old some liquor and they're not your child, you can go to jail because they can't give consent. It's called contributing to the delinquency of minors. I mean, it's amazing. Just, look, it happens every other country. We've got a case of tyranny, brother.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's absolutely true. And the thing is, my point being is that they're now codifying it and making it all legal. So when the cops bang on your door at 4 in the morning, and here's the thing, I ran with cops for years. I love them. They are a vital necessity to a civilized society, and most of them are good folks, but they just do not realize how they're being taken over and misused by, well, for want of a better term, the New World Order.
Well, yeah, let's be clear. I mean, as a crime reporter for decades at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, the crime reporter, obviously police. That was the old breed, and there's still a lot of good ones today. But, but the directives are corrupt. But I will tell you, in these articles about the knock and talk, the police are the ones complaining, saying, we think this is dangerous. People are getting mad. We don't like this. They're the ones that actually complain. That's how we know about it. Is they're complaining everywhere. I mean, who wants to go bang on random people's doors at 3 a.m.?
Well, I live in a rural county. I guarantee you come bang on somebody's door around here at 4 a.m., you're liable to get a case of buckshot. You just don't do that. This is ridiculous. And as you said, I think this is just a conditioning program to get people conditioned to the cops are going to tell you where to go, where to stop, where to lay down, where to put your hands, what to eat. This is not right, and this is not what this country is supposed to be about. And we have a very narrow, increasingly narrow window of opportunity to vote some people in with some sense, to stand up and say no, to tell our local officials, just tell them the feds to take a hike. There was I tell you, a good example was the sheriff up in one of the northern western, I think it was in Wyoming, maybe Montana. And he publicly said that if federal agents come in his county and do anything that violates the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution of that state, that his deputies would escort them to the border and kick them out.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of those. There's been a bunch of those, and Sheriff Mack is having meetings with hundreds of them. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what we need to do to take this country back. We can't look to Washington. That's the problem. We need to start locally and just tell the people in Washington hey, go get a real job.
Well, that's the answer, is when some Fed shows up in this rural council to tell you your kid can't be, getting the eggs in the morning. It's time for everybody to get together and tell them, get the hell out of our county.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real simple. You degenerate, shameful, communist scum. But, of course, I say communist. It's Big Agra who openly wants to shut down what's left of the family farm. They've got all these regulations written that they're all exempt from to openly shut down the family farm. I mean, these people are just absolute trash.
And these are laws that are being passed by Congress, who exempts themselves from Obamacare and from from Medicare and from, Social Security, and have placed themselves on the Federal Employees Retirement Fund, which is their own little private golden parachute. I'm telling you, we really do need one more amendment to the Constitution, and that is any law passed by Congress applies equally to Congress.
I agree. JimMars.com. In the 4 or 5 minutes we've got left, I always love to throw a curveball or wild card at people. In the last 5 minutes, I have no idea what you're about to say. What is front and center on your radar screen? What is most interesting to you right now?
What's most interesting to me right now is the fact that there is abundance of evidence, including the FEMA camps, a lot of things you talk about, the seed vault in Spitsbergen, Norway, the underground dome shelters, deep underground military bunkers, and plus this crackdown on trying to get a chokehold on every individual in this country and apparently in the civilized countries of the world. Apparently there is something coming up of a geophysical nature. I think I have no idea exactly what it is, other than the Ring of Fire in the Pacific is just ablaze with earthquakes and tsunamis. The major earthquakes that have been happening, unprecedented in recent history. I think we're getting ready to see some real traumatic changes take place in the geography of the planet. And I think at some high celestial place, they're well aware of this and they're keeping us in the dark. But when it happens, they want to be able to maintain and grab total control. And this is, I think, the ongoing impetus for this push towards totalitarianism. And they may be able to rationalize it away, but it's not going to wash with me. I think people ought to be free, and I think that includes the freedom of having the knowledge of what to prepare for.
Well, Jim, I agree with you, and government is digging in against the people. The Ring of Fire is heating up. Just take Fukushima, where reactor 4 is still melting down, and if it totally melts down, top scientists say it'll be the equivalent, bare minimum, of 85 Chernobyls. And it's not even a news item.
No, you don't hear that anymore. Neither do you hear about the ongoing crisis in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf is practically dead. They're getting shrimp with no eyes. They're getting shrimp and other sea creatures with tumors. The oil's still there. They're still spraying Corexit, a dangerous chemical.
Much worse than the oil,
Much worse than the oil. All it does is push the oil to the bottom of the sea, and it'll eventually work its way up. These are environmental absolute disasters, and they're not even on the news anymore.
That gives new meaning to sweeping it under the rug, all that oil.
Really, absolutely. It just pushes the bottom of the ocean and tell everybody it's okay. People are dying down there. There's been more than 1,000 first responders to 9/11 on Manhattan there that are already dead, and many more of them heading that way. And yet this comes from the same Environmental Protection Agency that told everybody, oh, the air's fine in Manhattan. Just go back to business.
Hey, let me throw this at you. What do you think about Mitt Romney versus Obama? Both paid for by the same banks. Both support carbon taxes, open borders, gun control. The list,
endless war. Hey, there's no difference. There's the left and right hand of the same entity.
Well, so then what do you make of Obama publicly saying, I can't wait to get reelected to use dictatorial power and executive orders to ignore Congress? I've never heard talk like that in all his executive orders. It looks like they're really trying to get people ready for the big deal. I mean, they're now... What's your take on that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. That's what I'm saying. They're pulling the gloves off. There's no longer any sneak and hide around and try to act like it's all about something else. This is about naked grab for power, okay? And I tell you, the one that really gets me is when Obama comes out and announces he's forming Black America, African Americans for Obama. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that racism? I mean, I thought that's why we kind of went along and elected a black person so that we wouldn't have racism. What if Alex Jones got up and said, I want to form white Americans for me for president? Wouldn't you be raked over the coals by the media? I mean, this is the hypocrisy of what's going on now, and the insanity is just beyond belief.
You're absolutely right. Tell us about your last book and the new book that's going to be coming out.
Well, the last book is The $1 Trillion Conspiracy, and it's still valid. It lists just about everything we've been talking about, plus much, much more, fully documented, fully footnoted. Plus, there's a section at the end that actually offers some ideas on what can be done about all this, okay? Now, the new book coming out that I've just turned in, it won't be out probably until maybe even the first of next year. We'll talk about that later. It's going to be a real eyebrow raiser because It's focusing in on these people who are trying to run the world, these people who are behind the New World Order. Who are they? What do they really want, and where did they come from? And you might be surprised at the answers.
I can't wait to read that and have you on the show and carry it in the Infowars.com shopping cart. Jim Marrs, thank you so much for the time tonight.
Thank you, Alex.
Amazing information. All right, that's Jim Marrs. We're going to go to break and come back with Charlotte Iserby to understand what Agenda 21 will do through education. The end of parental rights, forced inoculations, forced abortions, doing whatever they want to your children, not letting you have them do chores. The state is mommy. The state is daddy. And the state wants to make sure they're brain-damaged, addled servants of the New World Order. We'll be right back. Don't forget you can subscribe 15 cents a day at prisonplanet.tv or get a 15-day free trial to see this when it first airs, 7 o'clock. All the films, archives, and more. prisonplanet.tv.
Have you been to InfoWarsShop.com lately? Express your inner patriot with these brand new InfoWars t-shirts. Say it loud with the InfoWars Bullhorn shirt, or educate the sheeple with the Bill of Rights shirt. Grope the public's mind with the TSA shirt. And with this shirt, you can let the dark side know of the Rebel Alliance's power. All available at InfoWarsShop.com.